Righty ho, welcome back one and all. Bit of housekeeping before we kick off today's video. Guys, I realize that not all of you might be interested in this Lake Fork series, so what we're going to do next week is we're going to take a break. We're going to go back to our regular viewing. We're going to do we'll do another bait or some type of technique in the tackle and techniques section. And a little bit more housekeeping for all of those of you that keep messaging me and sending me DMs and all that kind of stuff about the baits. Please go and check out the Exile Custom Baits channel on YouTube. I know that a lot of you don't like Facebook. I understand that. It can be tricky to navigate and tricky to find things. So I hear you. I've opened up another little channel, the Exile Custom Baits channel on YouTube, and that's just going to be a lot less formal of a channel. We're just going to talk about lures. We'll talk about my lures. We'll talk about other lures. If people want stuff reviewed, we'll do it on that channel. So I hope you will all join us there just for some fun. They're going to be short form videos, probably not longer than 10 minutes. So join us there on the Exile Custom Baits channel. I'll put a link in the description. You guys can check it out. Thanks a lot, guys. Right, back to today's topic, Lake Fork. Last week we discussed time of year and weather. And you will notice, guys, that I did not say anything about how that is going to help us determine what we're going to do as far as our fishing goes. And don't be discouraged. There's a reason for that. What we're going to do is we're going to discuss all the various aspects of the planning and then bring it all together and look at how those various aspects affect the decisions that we make going forward for our trip in May. So don't think that I'm deliberately skirting it. I'm not. We're just talking about the various things first. Good. Today we are going to talk about food sources available to the bass in Lake Fork. And this is a huge, huge thing because it helps us determine what the most likely food sources are for giant fish that we are going to target on our trip in May. Let us start out by saying that there are 4 common species of bass available in Lake Fork to fish for: largemouth, smallmouth, Guadalupes, and spotted bass. Texans, I hope I said that right. I apologize if I didn't. And there are white bass, yellow bass, striped bass, and hybrids in the lake. So I've spoken to Fran about it. He wouldn't be opposed to catching a big striped bass on a swim bait or something like that. And neither would I. Be quite good fun, actually. There are 42 species of fish in Lake Fork. Guys, that pretty much covers all the bases of most of the fish that are available in the continental United States. I went through the list this morning, and most of them are there. So if you're a bass fisherman that likes to fish for other species, I'm just going to name a few of them. I've named the 4 main bass species. A lot of people like to fish for stripers and hybrids. They're in there. All the main catfish species are in there. Flatheads, blues, channels, they're in there. And I would imagine they're pretty big. Both the species of crappies are in there. Plenty of different sunfish. So if you're planning a fishing trip where you may want to do some bassing in the morning and then take the kids to fish for panfish in the evenings and the afternoons, or you'd like to just kick back and do some catfishing after you finish your bass fishing for the day, this seems to be the place to go. It's fantastic. Right. Baitfish species that the bass would eat in Lake Fork. we're going to focus on the main ones. Those are the sunfish. There are 6 sunfish species in Lake Fork, excluding the bass, as they are also considered to be sunfish. So there are bluegills, red ears, green sunfish, and 3 warmouths and 2 other species that I am not familiar with. Okay? Why is it important to know these things? Well, the sunnies, particularly bluegills, normally spawn either just before or just after the bass, depending what part of America you live in. And they can be, number one, a massive annoyance to the bass when they are spawning. And number 2, it's a good source of food for the bass once they are done spawning. So that's fantastic. They're in there. Green sunnies can be nest raiders. They're really, really bad, even worse than bluegill. So I'm not sure if they occurred there naturally before the lake was built or if they were stocked, but far be it from me to advise Texas Parks and Wildlife. They've done such a fantastic job with this place. It's unbelievable. Right. Other species of fish that are in there. There's golden shiners in there. That's a major food source for bass. And there's red shiners in there, and there's another type of shiner which I've forgotten. So there's shiners in the lake. That's first prize. And then we've got a host of different gar species. There's fathead minnows in there, guaranteed. There is gizzard shad in there. There is, what's the other one? Gizzard shad. I'll put a picture up of all the stuff, guys. There's a host of different. There is another type of shad that is in Lake Fork. I just can't remember it now. It'll come to me. And then there's crawfish. Many different crawfish. There's 2 species, but many crawfish in the lake. In fact, there are restaurants on the lake that have crawfish boils. So you can go there and eat the crawfish when you get annoyed if you're not catching enough big fish. So that's cool. Right. How did I find out about this stuff? Texas Parks and Wildlife's website. Simple as that. And then what I did was I watched, like I explained last week, I watched a bunch of videos by some of the guides on the lake and had a look at had a listen to the main lures that they use at different types of year, and in our particular case in May. So it's, again, not difficult. It's a super, super critical thing that you need to know. And I'm going to explain to you why now, and then we'll integrate that, like I said at the beginning of this video, into the bigger picture once we've made all our decisions, and this is what we're going with. It is not easy to travel with every single color of every single lure that you think that you might need at a lake. You can take a few of some, but if you had to think of all the different techniques that you personally use to catch bass, guys, we're probably talking about over 20 rods each and probably a truckload of tackle. And there are not many bass boats that can handle that. So when you discover the bait fish or food sources available to the bass in that particular lake at that time of year, we're not just talking about Lake Fork right now, wherever you are going, it will help you narrow down what lures you should be focusing on. If you know what type of year the different bait fish spawn, that will help you narrow down whether the bass will be targeting those fish at that time of year. So what do we do once we've got that information? Because it literally took me 5 minutes to find that out. Now, we go back to our search engine and we type in the various species of bait fish if we've determined that those bait fish are spawning close to or around that time of year. We type in, for example, bluegill in Lake Fork. And images will come up of the color of the bluegill in Lake Fork and for whatever other bait fish species and the crawdad species. That is exactly what I've done when I've done my planning for baits for this trip. It's exactly what I've done. I didn't have any prior knowledge. As I've discussed before, I've never been there. So, typed it all in, got some really good images. Like I said, listened to a couple of the guides that work there, got a little bit of information from them just by watching them on YouTube. Like I said to you guys, YouTube is a massive, massive tool. And then I have planned accordingly. And like I said in the previous video, we are going there to target big fish. That doesn't mean that we're not going to catch small fish. It just means that we are targeting big fish. So I have then gone with bigger baits in some cases, and baits that we're going to use with the specific techniques that we have decided that we're going to try to target bigger fish, which we will get into as this series goes along. So from the food perspective, next to time of year, food is the most important thing that you need to know. There is no point arriving at a lake that you have never been to before, or maybe even your home lake that you haven't done the research and you've had little to no success without doing the research on what food sources exist in that lake. You might be fishing using a specific type of lure because you've heard there's shad in that lake, so you're using a green bait for argument's sake, and the shad in your lake are white or silver, and you can't understand why you can't get bit. It can be something as simple as that, guys. Then the other thing that we have to take into consideration when we start to think about baits is, what is the watercolor going to be like? Now, in the previous video, we spoke about time of year and weather, and that will help us determine what color baits we need to take for different scenarios, for clearer water and then for staying to dirty water. And that part of the equation we can only do a couple of weeks before we leave, because we need to know what the weather is doing just before we leave. And that will help us determine the watercolor. But in our planning and in the bait making that I have done, we have planned for clean water and dirty water. And we're just going to have those two categories and everything in between. So in the planning stages and in the bait making stages, I've made a little bit of everything. I have planned for cleaner to stained water. That is my plan. But I have allowed for dirty water. I have made a lot less baits for dirty water, but I have allowed for it. And we'll get into that. I'm going to show you the baits I'm going to take with, guys. The stuff that I've made, I'm going to show you. There is some stuff that's in America already at Franz that I won't be able to show you, but I'll put pictures up on the screen. How's that? Okay, guys. That's food sources. It's straightforward. We're not going to talk about terrestrials. Everybody knows about that. Frogs, bugs, that kind of stuff. It all exists. There is a very good frog bite at Lake Fork. I don't know if it's going to be on when we are there, but there is a frog bite. So we have all the frogs and different types of frogs and frog roes and everything there. We'll probably take them with, and if there's anything going on and if the conditions allow it, we'll hit them up with a frog. And that'll be a lot of fun, because frog fishing is fun. But for now, that's it. Food sources. It's short and sweet and to the point. You guys go out and do research on any lake that you might be going to, so that you can check out food sources on the lakes that you're going to go and fish, or go and fish with your family. And like I found out about Lake Fork, the amount of different species of fish is staggering. So it makes it a very good destination for family holidays. All right, guys, that'll do it for this week. Thanks for joining us. I will see you next week. Next week we're going to pick up in the tackle-in techniques. We'll do a lure or a technique or something like that, and just break this up a little bit. I know the series might be a bit heavy going for some people who have never been to Lake Fork or have no intention of going to Lake Fork. But it's just something that I wanted to do for myself and show you my process. I hope you have a great week. We'll see you next week, guys.